Hello, men. This is Man. We are in trouble.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This is episode 13 of Man We're in Trouble podcast. And today we welcome back Rafael Gomez from the Women on Men podcast. Rafael, thank you for returning.
Thank you. I'll always be back anytime you guys want me.
Man, no, I definitely appreciate it. Today also we are joined by Ed, Carlos, and David. And so today it's kind of a special topic that I wanted to discuss because over the last few days, few weeks, it's been kind of racking my brain. So I've been posting a lot on TikTok of our clips from the past, and some people have been commenting about how women want to be led. And that received a slew of responses of like, oh, women should be led. Women want to be led. And I responded to this one specific guy who's very clearly trolling. And I was like, listen, you need to understand what leadership is in order to properly lead. And everyone on this specific side of the community, on the red pill side, they're like, oh, I want to be a leader. I want to lead. Women want to be led. I have to do this, this, and this. Listen, there is a large swath to what it means to lead. And I think that is a huge gap that they are missing. They automatically think because I'm a man, I have to lead. And it doesn't matter how I lead, I'm a man and therefore I can do it. It's a very counterproductive and anti-leadership mentality in my eyes. And so I wanted to expand on that as to like, hey, where did that argument even come from in the first place of why, like the perception of why these guys want to lead women? What that also means though, like women don't necessarily want to be led in that way and kind of what that means. However, what it means to you guys to lead. What's a good leader? What does it mean to have leadership values that people want to emulate? So I'm hoping this evolves into a discussion and expands upon, what it means to be a healthy leader in this day and age. So would anyone like to go first?
I just want to ask, were those comments coming from men mostly, or were they coming from women?
So the men were saying that they want to lead, or the women want to be led, and that it is the natural order of things for men to lead and to do this type of stuff. However, women were like, we don't want to be led, or we don't want you to lead us. The response of when they hear, oh, you want a leader, I want to lead. So it was a very eye-opening debate in my comment section. And so some women, I think, they're more traditional and they want their man to lead. Okay, that's fine if you want that to happen. But what does that mean when they want to be led?
And taken into that context, it sounds like those men in particular, what they're trying to describe as is not necessarily being a leader, is more so as a boss.
Exactly.
They want,
That's what I was going to say. You took the word from my mouth.
they just want to boss people around, be like, come crawling to me and feed me my grapes, woman. It's like, it doesn't work like that as the 21st century. It might have worked in Quaker world back in the 1700s, but it doesn't. The dynamic has now changed where women, they inherently recognize their value and their contributions to our society. They see men as equals now. So if you do want to fit the bill as a leader, you're gonna have to earn that respect. It's the same thing that applies in the military. We have female and male commanders, and you could get good and bad between both realms. I don't think there's a specific gender that determines that, oh, as a male and by default, you're supposed to be a good leader. Because
Yeah.
I think
I think a lot of this comes from tradition. I think prior to more recent times, men were considered the head of the household. For whatever reason, I can't tell you exactly why. Perhaps it's because they were the main breadwinner. And I think there's still a little bit of legacy there for men today where they think if I'm not doing that, then I'm not manly. So I think there's a part of that where they're like, I want to lead because that makes me a man. But to David's point, It's more like they want to be a boss, because from my perspective, some of the best leaders I've ever had in like a workplace aren't necessarily telling you what to do, but they're resources for you to figure out how to best do the next thing. For example, my favorite style of leadership, and it's what I used to do when I used to lead teams, is servant leadership. I'm not there to tell you how to live your life or how to, micromanage you. But if you have a problem, come to me and I'll try to clear the path for you so we can succeed together. And I think that is leadership. And those have always been my favorite kind of leaders. And they're the kind of people you want to follow.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I think that's rhetoric that the red pill really hones in on, is this idea that women want a decisive man, and they've turned that into this toxic, like, you need to be in charge. You need to tell her what to do. Like, you can be confident and decisive without being authoritative and tyrannical.
Okay.
I think the healthy way of framing it would be, not just women, anyone wants a leader, a person that's set in their convictions. They make a decision. They're not doormats. They're not flippy floppy. And they're willing to be good followers too when the time comes. And they're willing to seek out resources and ask for help when the time comes. Because even if you find yourself in a situation where you're supposed to be the traditional leader, you might have to ask for help every now and then. Or you might just have to say, hey, I don't know what I don't know.
I think that's the conundrum that they are running into right now, where a leader's supposed to know everything at all times. And it doesn't matter if I don't know the answer, it's my decision, and therefore I'm right. As well as they find an oxymoron for the servant leadership type mentality, because they're like, a leader cannot be a servant. That makes no sense. And I think that is I am a servant leader. I'm not an autocratic leader. I understand that I am not the smartest person in the room, and I need to take the information from my peers, from my subordinates, because they might have more knowledge on a subject than I do. Yes, even though I might be in charge of a specific thing and I make the final decision on stuff, at the same time, I'm going to trust my subordinates to make the decision to meet my intent. And that, I think, is what makes a decent leader. So I think that is a difference. They don't understand what servant leadership means.
I think one of the biggest tropes that gets thrown around, at least in my job in the airline industry, is the second in command to the captain. You're supposed to be the chameleon. You're supposed to mold yourself to the captain, right? I think that's the biggest load of shit I've ever heard. I've always believed a good leader is the chameleon. You mold yourself to your subordinates, to the person that you're taking care of and leading, to get the best out of them. Because I'm not going to treat somebody that's really experienced like a baby. And I'm not going to take a brand new guy and treat him like he's been doing this for 20 years. Now, bring that back to relationship dynamics. You're going to meet women that might want the more traditional role, and you're going to meet women that want a more 50-50, or they might actually want to take more of the burden. You have to still mold yourself to that. And you're still playing an active role in making decisions in any of those scenarios.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And then that's where they kind of run into that conflict, because they kind of copy and paste their definition of what a woman is. So they just apply that same, mentality of, okay, this is what my definition of leadership is. And they apply it to every single of those kind of women that you just described. And again, it might work for one out of three, but the other two is not going to jive with that style of leadership. It's a matter of just being adaptive, as you said.
So can I ask Raphael, like, since you interview mostly women and ask for their perspectives, what do they have to say about the topic of, I don't want to say being led by men, quote unquote, but
Sure.
the decisive decision-making dynamic?
Yeah, I never asked them specifically yet about, being submissive or, leadership or anything like that. I think the closest conversation I've had is about, should men still be the primary breadwinner in relationships? And most of the women either said no, or depends on the relationship, or I think each individual person can decide that for themselves. There's no one rule. And I think as women start to become, often the primary breadwinner in a lot of relationships, leadership is going to look different. I don't think it's necessarily going to default to one person. I think it will become more egalitarian and more 50-50. But most of the women I've interviewed, I don't think I'd consider them traditional. I don't know if it's because I'm in Southern California, but if I was in Alabama or Florida, I think it'd be a whole different set of answers. Because I did grow up in the South, and I think religion is a big part of why people would like to follow what the Bible says in terms of leadership and submissiveness.
100%.
But yeah, so far it hasn't really come up as a big topic, but what I've seen so far is that most of the women, at least here in California, have been pretty progressive in their views.
And I would add, even if you're approaching a progressive woman, I don't think it's bad for you as an individual to have leadership traits, because you're going to have somebody in that relationship who is your equal. It's still got to be a benefit. Even if you're not the primary breadwinner, you're still showing your potential. I don't want to say as a man, but just like as an individual, as a contributing member of that couple, that relationship.
Yeah. So interesting you brought up the religion and the submissive piece, because the guy that was in the comment section was definitely hardcore religious. And he was saying that I want a submissive woman. I demand respect. I expect respect. And I'm over here like, so you want an abusive leadership role? You are an abusive leader, bottom line. And he's like, no, I'm not. I'm not I'm like, you are 100% demanding control over another individual. And he's like, no, that's not what I mean. I trust my woman whenever I'm not there. So that means you don't trust her when you are there. Why do you demand a level of control over someone? Do you not trust your spouse? Do you not trust your spouse to make leadership decisions? Even when you are there, it doesn't mean that her opinion is now relegated to the trash bin now that you're home. I don't understand that mentality.
You got to elaborate with him on the respect thing. Like, okay, you demand respect. I understand that. That's fine. I can see the mechanism in your brain that would bring you to this conclusion. Are you willing to give it back? Are you going to respect her with the same degree?
Right. And I don't think he would. He doesn't
sound like it.
I don't think the conversation gets there. It's
that whole concept of like, that 8-age-old saying of you have to earn respect. You can't demand it. You have to earn it. It's given.
I was just about to say, like, that sounds like somebody that never spent a day in the military in their life.
Well,
but I mean, you didn't have to apply it into like military terms. I mean, you could even say, for example, like, I don't know about your childhoods, but growing up in a traditional Korean household, the parents, they are, as totalitarian as it gets. Like, they are the law. You'll respect your parents because why? Because I said so. You don't have a choice.
Bro, we're Hispanic.
I was gonna say, dude, we got that too.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Have you met
the old
that
school
chocolate?
the chocolate. But as that saying goes, but growing up, like even now, I try to have this modern conversation with my mom sometimes, and she goes, "You have to respect me." I'm like, "Why?" And then she goes, "Because I'm your mother." I'm like, "That, as a parent, you have to give me some level to respect to. I can't just respect you by default."
Right.
That's not.
But now this extra level of dynamic is, hey, now it's I'm the man. I supersede even the mom, the wife. And and I think that is based on their religious ideologies of that they demand respect because they are the man. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't need to earn the respect because I am a man and I demand that respect. And that's their
You've been
mentality.
sprinkled with the patriarchy with respect.
Who are you talking about? I feel like that's a very subset of people.
So it was this one guy that was commenting in this one TikTok clip that we had, and he was like, And then it's down that rabbit hole of, I think that is the perception by a lot of these red pill guys, is they demand respect because they are the man. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having these issues. And it has a lot to do with religion, I think. And I don't know if there's another solution to it. I don't know if it's something that we can teach someone, no, you are equal to your spouse. Don't demand respect. That is an abusive leadership mentality. That is
Basing a level of respect for another individual based on their gender is idiotic.
I
Now,
agree.
like, I can't believe I still remember this shit. But back in my JROTC days, I remember the definition of leadership that they literally taught us.
Damn.
And
Okay.
it was
What was it?
the ability to influence people by giving purpose, direction, and motivation.
Hey,
Right.
it's pretty good.
You got to give somebody a reason why to do it. You got to root them while they're doing it. And you got to show them sometimes how to do it.
That's that 10-star general.
Bro. That's
why
that,
did you stay in the army, man? You would have
that's
fixed all
that
the army
Virgin
systems.
Battalion Commander energy right there.
You are the missing puzzle piece in the army.
Bro.
This is why we're failing right now. This is why Russia's winning, because you're out. So, okay. So that is your definition of leadership.
Yeah, and just being a man doesn't fill any of those criteria. Having this dick between my legs does nothing for any of those things.
Yeah, some of my best leaders have been women in the workplace. I don't think it's default. I think that's another thing. First, I think, if you go through history, men being the breadwinner, maybe that defaulted them to a leadership position just because they were making the money. They made the decisions on what the house could do. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I think that's how it used to be. And I think now, if you're not even in a Christian setting, the red pill people are moving more conservative in general. They want women with extremely low body counts. They want women who are submissive. And it's not even, I think, from a Christian viewpoint. I think it's just like a power viewpoint. I think it's something that gives them a sense of control. It gives them a sense of manhood. And I think that message is promoted through a lot of the online content where they basically say men are natural leaders. They just kind of default that from a biological standpoint. And there's no real basis for that.
Mm-hmm.
Historically, maybe that's who's been the leader, but that doesn't mean women aren't also just as apt to be leaders in either a relationship, a workplace, a company, a military, wherever.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder how much of this actually also comes from insecurity.
Most of it.
Right. Most of it is all insecurity because these guys grew up with a mindset that because I am a man, I need to be respected. And then they cling on to that and don't ever learn and realize that, wait a minute, you have to actually have other characteristics to be a respected man, right? You have to have other skills. You have to have, most importantly, social skills. Really, that's where it comes down to. But I feel like the
You got to
guys
show
that,
value in some way.
right, you have to, yeah, exactly. And then some of these guys, I feel like never learned that and then just kind of used the whole man thing as a crutch. And it's like, nope, or the fact that they don't have those skills as a crutch. And it's like, I'm just going to go ahead and go with the tradition of you. I'm like, I'm a man, you must respect me.
Yeah,
And
because
it's
that's
like, no,
easy, bro.
Yeah, it's
to
easy.
just
Yeah, exactly.
demand
It's easy.
respect. It's hard
Yeah.
to like actually do the work and be a good leader.
Well, and like Raphael said it before, like society just kind of put that on us. So it's not that women can't be good leaders. It's that we're the ones that society kind of funnels into that walk of life and into that responsibility and social norm. So you end up with more men in leadership roles, which tells you all you need to do is start teaching women young that they have these attributes. They have the same ability to succeed in a leadership role.
I think it goes beyond that, but it goes beyond teaching boys at a young age that a good leader is beyond just being a boy or a man.
Right. I think if you just teach everyone, if this was something that was like societally taught equally around, there wouldn't be that gender predisposition to be like, well, I'm a guy, I gotta be in charge. Like, I mean,
Well,
e-
can I just push back a little bit? I feel like
sure,
this
yeah, that's
conversation
what
has
you're here,
been
bro.
very, very one-sided. I don't think it's a societal issue. It's like women, they pick men that they respect. Like even I mean, at least from my experience, the most type A girl boss girls, when you date them, like they still want you to take charge. Um, it's not like society that put them in this position. I think women instinctively want a partner that they can rely on and that can lead them and make them feel safe.
Yeah, but I think the
Yep.
problem is what they rely on and what they demand leadership from a guy. You need to ask them what that means to them. And I think that's where we get confused as guys sometimes. Some girls might want type A leader. Some girls might want type B leader with emotional understanding and equal balance of gender norms and stuff like that. And I think that's a
I think
communication piece that we just need
the
to have.
bottom line is they want somebody that can take care of the stuff when shit goes wrong.
They want somebody decisive.
They don't want somebody to freak out with them when shit goes wrong. Like, I think that's what every woman wants, at least from my experience.
Yeah, but that
Is
when,
that
when
what
the
they tell you?
situation calls for it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. When the
Is that
situation
what they
calls
tell
for it,
you?
so
So if shit goes wrong, you can't be like freaking out with your partner. Like there has to be a person, that will take care of it.
So you're
And a lot
saying
of times when the man shows too much emotion and then the perception from the female side that, oh, he's gonna fall apart before I do, that's when they lose attraction. And I think that's what I saw, a lot of divorces in real life of people around me. When the guy is not a good leader, the woman often leaves him. Like my family was a prime example. Like my mom was doing a lot better than my dad, and I guess like the I guess she lost respect for him, and then it just the marriage crumbled. And I see it in a lot of people I know. Um, so
I think what Kevin's trying to say in another way too is, and I've seen this, like it's not, it's real. It's, women want an equal partner, but at the same time, like it's like the dynamic of you heard a noise downstairs. Who has to grab the shotgun and go check out that noise? Who has the expectation to go downstairs with the bat kind of thing?
Well, here's what I'd say about that. And it's kind of to what Kevin's point is. One, in all my relationships, and I was married in my mid-20s, I've never had a conversation with any of my partners about who's the leader or like, hey, are you the leader or am I the leader? It's never really come up. I think in a relationship, especially one that's egalitarian, the person who's most capable should be the one that takes control in that certain scenario. So for example, if the man is a better cook and he really wants to cook, then maybe that's what he does. And he's in charge of the groceries and he's in charge of the kitchen and he's in charge of that because he's a more capable person. In the scenario of security, if my wife was Ronda Rousey, I hope she's the one that goes downstairs
yeah.
and,
What do you mean? I'm scared.
handles business. Yeah. Yeah. But in my marriage, I'm the more capable one. So yes, I should be the one to go. I don't think it's a default gender thing personally. I think it falls more to who is more capable and who should be the one that actually takes that action in that certain scenario.
Mhm. And it fluctuates day by day,
I
depending
think
on
that
situation.
works in like a perfect world, but in reality, a woman, they always choose for somebody they think is more capable than them.
You mean physically?
Wait, what?
Just in general.
What do you mean? I don't understand.
Like, okay, I mean, like Red Pill talks a lot about like hypergamy, right? Do you believe that?
I don't, but I'd love
You
to hear
don't?
your thoughts on it. No.
Well, I mean, that's pretty. I mean, there's a lot of data showing that, especially in like the dating apps, right? Where you have 80% of women going for like 10, 15% of men.
But why is
So
that
they-
hypergamy? Isn't that just like picking people based on looks?
Well, no, it's looks, physicality, and career.
Basically, the
take-
idea of hypergamy is that women date up, be it physical status, be it height, be it financial status. What I think, because I've read into this too, and a lot of the red pill rhetoric revolves around the core belief is women are hypergamous. Women only date up. Women will X woman will not date a guy that's X minus one. When it comes to she won't date a guy that makes less. Bullshit.
It's not true.
My girlfriend made way more money than me.
My wife makes more than me. It's not true.
They all date with a major height difference. That
Also, if there's hypergamy on that side where women are always dating up, then you also have to look at another thing. And like hypergamous is not necessarily like the first guy a woman chooses is someone to date up. A lot of the red pill men believe hypergamy means they're always looking to date up, even when they're in a relationship. So if they're currently in a relationship and they meet someone else who makes more money or is more capable, they're going to consider that person. That's what a lot of red pill people believe. But I think when you look at the actual data, men are often the ones who cheat more, and they're also the ones who leave for younger women. So if we're going to talk about hypergamy one way, then we have to, I think, also talk about it the other way. So I don't think it's necessarily, I think it's not a gendered thing. I think it's men sometimes prefer younger women and they go for that. And I think women sometimes do want someone who makes more money. But I think in 2025, you'll find that less and less.
And I think they're both tied together in the sense that I think what we see mostly is superficial hypergamy just because of how superficial interactions are in the dating apps and how much of current dating revolves around dating apps. So it's really easy for people to find themselves in a scenario where all they're swiping, or I don't want to say swiping, but all they're categorizing people with is height, money, job, height, money, job. Like, what do you do? Where do you live? Okay, cool.
Yeah, and it's all we see it drastically in Hollywood and movies, in the news. It's very skewed in
Social media is
social media,
blasted with that shit.
and it gives a false sense of reality to a lot of people, and they're like, oh,
that's another
case.
That's another fallacy of the red pill mentality that, well, only the top 20% of men are banging the 80% of women. Like, they say that because they're trying to sell you this, hey, subscribe and I'm going to make you one of those 20% men. Now, if everyone's a top 20% man, nobody's a top 20% man. That's not how it fucking works.
The vast majority of married men are not 6 foot tall nor rich.
No. I'm a short king. I'm 5'11".
Shut up.
You can't even say that. You can't even do that, bro.
Yeah.
You grow your
Then
hair
you
out,
did
you
add
want
that
to do
extra
6
inch. You're like, I'm 6 foot.
Bro.
I know.
grow your hair out.
Let me tell you the most toxic interaction I ever had on a dating app. I told a girl I was 5'11". She told me, "You're an inch away from being a real man and unmatched."
Horrible.
So, Mitch, we're not the only toxic ones, bro.
Bro, for sure.
I'm not disagreeing with that. Like, there's toxicity on the opposite side too. I'm not denying that.
People can be toxic. Anyone can be
Absolutely.
toxic.
But
I don't think hypergamy is toxic. I mean, that's the way it's been since the beginning of mankind. Like, the big, strong dude got to reproduce. Most guys
true.
did not have the chance to reproduce. Like,
Yeah.
that's been since day one of humans.
Yeah. So I think hypergamy needs to expand, though, in the sense of
Like, it's not a myth.
a girl will look at a guy that will complement themselves of something that they might not have, or something that they might want. Like, they will go up if they find someone that they more attractive or making more money, or someone might go, they want to have a guy that's more emotionally like secure than the other. Like, I don't know. I think there's more nuance than just the three talking points of height, money, and looks, like muscles.
Exactly.
Like,
And I think when you're looking at the 666, I think if you're looking at historically, women chose people that could protect them from the elements, protect them from animals, and also have the most likely chance of protecting their offspring. So they're going to pick those kinds of guys. But today, women are looking for a funny guy. It's a totally different scenario. It's not
But
a
I think,
survival based.
like, that instinct, it's still part of the equation.
Yeah, it's the same way that we're attracted to big butts and boobs.
Yeah.
It's literally the
Like,
same mechanism.
That's
I'm not even
never,
joking.
Yeah, I think we can't always break our biology, even though we would like to say that we can. Like, I understand that. However, we are civilized human beings, and that we can understand that there are more things that are important to our lives than just physical attraction. Men want peace. Men want someone who can take care of the house, or someone that can not. I don't know. I love my wife because she's creative. She has a job. She is able to expand my emotional development in the sense of like understanding feelings, and I appreciate that. We do things together. We have a lot of things in common. We'll go to Disney. We'll go to theater plays. Like, there are things that we both like to do, and so like it's beyond than there's just physical attraction. Because
right, but the physical attraction, that's a qualifier. Without that, none of those things you said would even matter.
Yeah, but a lot of things can be attractive for men. My wife's got a nice ass. That was a big reason why I ended up dating her, but that's not why I married her. That's not
And
why
we
I
want
married.
to find out more about her because we're attracted to them first. Like, I
Sure.
don't care how good a person she is. If I'm not physically attracted, I don't want to be her partner.
But I think when it comes to women, they don't put as much emphasis. Most of them, I don't think, put as much emphasis
do
on
agree.
looks than we do. And I think
Yes.
there are other ways to be attractive to women. I think confidence, personality, humor, ambition are all very attractive things, and it has nothing to do with how you look. Obviously, if you're just unhygienic and just, you don't take care of yourself, then, you're probably going to be less likely to attract somebody. But I do know a lot of women have been won over by personality.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but also,
I mean-
aren't some women a little delusional as to what maybe they don't expect, a 10 out of 10 as far as looks, but their expectations list gets ever longer, right? So it's like it gets to a point where, hold on, you're expecting this guy to be funny, make a lot of money, have his own, like, but X, Y, and Z, like A through Z.
I don't think delusion is the right word, but I think
It is. It is, though, because it is. Because if you are not bringing the same amount of
I feel like there's a
skill
different
sets
word
to the
that should be
table,
used.
No, I think you're trying to skirt around the fact that it sounds bad, but we need to accept the
It does
fact that
sound bad because it.
but it's
like
but hold on, it's the truth, because we need to accept the fact that dating apps have had a negative effect on women too. They fucked us up, but they fucked them up too. And I think one of the negative ways that women have been hurt by dating apps is by the way that they sift through men. And it's slowly devolved into this terrible dynamic where they've created the checklist. And I think it is somewhat delusional to turn a face-to-face interaction where I'm trying to know if you're the right person for me has just become an interview for a job now. Do you check these boxes? Like, you're not actually getting to know me for me. You just care if
Your
I
qualifications.
have a job that makes
yeah.
this much. Yeah.
don't guys do the same thing though?
Yeah, I'm trying to wonder that.
It's
Right.
I
Don't
don't-
look at the guy.
I don't think men. I'm not saying men don't do it, but I don't think men
do as
have
much. They don't do it as much.
systemically checklisted it as much as women have.
Because
Every single red pill podcast I have is, do you have a high body count? Do you do this? Do you do this? Do you like? There's their own checklist that they have. So like, it's also disingenuous to say that guys don't do the same thing.
that
they are not
that
also
they don't do it. They just don't do it as much.
Guys,
Those insecure
they-
guys, a secure man won't care what the body count is. It is what it is. What happens is what happens. But if you're going to be insecure enough to be like, what's your body count? Like,
Hold on, let Mitch finish his sentence.
okay, go ahead.
Let me see.
I
Why?
don't know where I'm going with this.
Why is it okay? Wait, so it's not okay to use the delusional word with women, but it is with men?
I'm using
double
your
standard.
word. I'm using your word against you.
Sure.
So therefore,
Okay.
Well, they
All
are
right.
delusional. They're
Yeah,
gonna
just-
be delusional
just-
dudes out there, 100%.
I think delusion is an appropriate word if someone's like, I want my man to make $1 million a year. I want him to be 6'3", and I want him to do like, okay,
sure.
great
Yeah.
to have those preferences. It's very unlikely that's going to happen. But I think the checklist that you guys are talking about for men are not maybe on the income side. But I think for the most part, they're more personality based than anything. And I think that is realistic versus delusional. So I think there's a difference in that language. I think that's why I think, to Mitch's point, I think it is just a different word. I think I think I'm delusional if I think I can get Margot Robbie. Like that's
Yeah.
delusional.
Right.
But I do think I can get a pretty girl.
Charlize Theron still single. Charlize Theron still single.
You're delusional.
Hey,
Yeah. So
okay,
okay.
mother.
Isn't she like 60 years old?
If
Hey,
we're,
I don't
I'm
care,
just
bro.
I'm
55 probably.
Never answered
I'm
60, and I don't.
I'm gonna look it up.
I'm using the whole definition like argument of saying like, hey, if we're actually going to use this word, we should understand what that word means if we're going to use it. And I don't disagree that I need to look up a different word than delusion. But I think that
Yeah.
there are certain expectations that cross a line on both sides that are like, okay, listen, we got to get back to that bell curve. We got to cut off the edges and be a little bit more realistic when it comes to like expectations that we have of the opposite sex.
I will say another to Ed's point and even Kevin's, like I do think when it comes to delusion, dating apps have created some sort of delusion in terms of the delusion of options, that you have an infinite amount of options to choose from. And so that makes it so that if you have somebody that meets 75% of your checklist in your head, you're like, well, there could be 100 out there. So I'm going to, not pursue this and maybe look elsewhere. I think that is a delusional aspect of dating for sure.
And to bring it back to the leadership topic, a good leader understands they cannot meet 100% of their expectations all the time. And a good leader understands that a 70% solution might be the best to complete the mission while also not hindering everyone under their subordinate command at the same time. And I'm bringing it back. I'm bringing it back to the leadership topic. Okay.
Well, David, you're muted.
Mitch just said women suck at being leaders.
David, I think you're muted.
David,
Am I
hold
muted?
on.
Yeah, because you had way too much background noise earlier.
Yes.
Am I good now?
Yes. You're
Okay.
good now.
You're allowed to talk
I'm
now.
allowed to talk now.
Speak to the council.
Okay, I was saying to Mitch's point. It's better to just have a good plan than a perfect plan, and the same kind of goes in terms of the dating world too. You don't need to find the perfect guy or perfect girl. Just find a good girl or a good guy, right? I always say to my wife all the time, like I tell her, you're not a perfect person, but I'm gonna love you perfectly, and that's all that fucking matters. That's all. That's all that should matter.
I'm gonna steal that, David.
But to Kevin's point, I think I see more women holding out for the perfect man than I do men holding out for the perfect woman.
Kevin, there's a lot of background noise in yours.
Do I?
Yeah.
I'm at a bar.
And I can probably concede that there's probably, I think men are more willing to marry someone that doesn't meet their entire criteria. As you said, it's probably not as long of a list. But I do think now women now can be more choosy than they ever have been because
Park, for fuck's sakes.
So, damn it, Park.
Why do-
Raphael is in the middle of a perfect fucking metaphor, and you're
You
over here
just like had a thunderstorm in your microphone.
I thought I muted myself.
what do you eat? What is that? What is that, by the way?
True fruit. It's milk chocolate covered strawberries.
You fat fuck.
All right.
No,
All right.
Remember this
Don't
brought me back to
shame
college
me.
to the days
Don't-
that this
you're
fucker
just-
would just
you're
be sitting on
fucking
the
fat
couch eating
shame me.
popcorn.
Hey,
Damn it.
I'm just gonna
just
find 8 doesn't mean I can't be
disrespected Raphael.
180. Okay, leave me alone.
Watch it, Short King.
disrespected him. God,
Yeah.
do push-ups.
Okay.
Mitch, just mute.
I'm going to mute him. All right, Raphael, go ahead.
I think you're right that maybe men marry with less of their checklist checked off versus women, but I think it's maybe one of the first times in history where women can be that choosy. I don't think it used to be that way. I think women used to marry for resources and for protection for throughout most of history. And now they're looking for someone more to bring personality, fun, and love to their life. And I think they're looking for that mostly, at least from the women I've spoken to.
So I think we talked about it a little bit on, I think, a podcast or two ago, but the women, because of the laws that were in place, they needed to find a man. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were stuck in a corner. And I think a lot of the ladies brought up like, hey, we were forced. We were like less than human. And so therefore we could not choose. We could not be as picky as before because of the laws that were put in place. So I think you're right. It has changed. Now people
It has.
are able to-
If anything, it's almost like a pendulum swung too hard kind of thing, where women as individuals didn't have agency to make those choices before. Now they have that agency, and now they're redlining a little bit where like, hey, now I get to pick if he has nose hairs poking out of his nose or whatever. And it's like, no, okay, let's wrangle it back. He doesn't have to be 6'6", you know?
I would like to clarify. If some people have those high expectations for themselves, great. I think that's fine. But come a little bit to reality in the sense of like, you might be waiting a little bit to actually find that perfect person. And I think some guys might not be as patient. Some girls might not be as patient. And so it's just one of those things that I think it's fine if you have those long lists, but don't attack other people for not adhering to all of your lists. That's what I think guys are frustrated with. You have all of these expectations and you're expecting perfection. All right. Don't attack others for not being perfect because we are human.
That was like the big piece of advice that Steve Galloway was giving, as his number one piece of advice he would give to men and women going out on a date. He tells men, like, bring value to the table, like make the world better, be somebody, you know? And the piece of advice that he gave women was give the guy a chance. Give him a second date. Was he perfect on the first one? Was he did he creep? If he didn't creep you out and you kind of sort of had a good time, go out a second time and try to get to know him a little better. It's like, let's ground our expectations, because it's not that we're telling you to settle. It's that give other criteria a chance that aren't in your checklist that might surprise you, or that you might find value that you didn't realize were important to you. You think you want these things in a man, but after you gave him a chance, you actually found out that you value these other things a lot more. And you would have never found that out if you had never given the guy a chance.
I like that. That's a good.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I think Scott was probably right there. I mean, I think it's hard to tell somebody, hey, go on a second date with someone you're not 100% feeling. But if it's like mostly there, give it another, like, see if maybe the nerves are gone on the second date, you know, like it could make a difference. So I think that's reasonable.
And I think because we expect perfection, or some people expect perfection, that doesn't allow people to grow. And I think that is what we tend to forget, that we are constantly growing as humans and learning and understanding. Because I granted, my wife, when I first met her, I did not know how to talk well to her. I definitely said things that she was like, that's not right. That's very misogynistic. I got extremely defensive. I'm like, I was not being misogynist. She's like, you were. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Okay. I didn't understand at the time. And so I had to grow. she molded me into the man I am today, and I applaud her for it. And so
that's problematic, bro.
but I loved her. So that's like one of those things, like I want to grow and be a better person for her. Like, what's wrong with that? We tend to forget that in a relationship, we grow with one another. People change, and that is okay.
Yeah, like dating, the dating world today is trying to sell us that we have to find finished products when we're all like projects in the making.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like,
we're working on it.
leadership in general, like even like on military evaluations or probably other civilian evaluations, they talk about, are you professionally developing yourself? Are you always trying to prepare yourself to be better than what you already are? You know, and same thing goes with relationships. You should work just as hard to keep her as you did to win her in the first place. If you just say,
Yeah.
okay, I want her and then I'm done, I'm just gonna be like sit back now, then yes, maybe that's where the divorce happens. If in certain instances, like if you know, if a man or woman, the woman realizes he's not going anywhere, he's not contributing anything, yeah, I'm gonna find something that's better, that's gonna motivate him to have some kind of sense of purpose to improve both of our lives, not just each other.
So this kind of goes into, I'm so glad this kind of, there was another clip and then another girl that commented on it. And I thought it was a fantastic way that now I can bring it back in here. For the military, we talk about potential in an individual as a leader. Okay. We also, if we talk about another in our spouse, our boyfriend, girlfriend, about he did not meet, I expect this. I expect him to do this. I expect her to do this. Rather than I'm setting, hey, this is the standard that I would like to set at the bare minimum. And so you expecting something sets your spouse up for failure. You providing them a standard to kind of, hey, this is what I would like, puts the ball in their court. And in the military, as we measure the performance, as we measure potential, we don't have met expectations. We say met standards because it allows people to grow and develop into that potential. And I think that is what the leadership for both real world in career and relationship kind of go hand in hand. It's like we need to change the wording of I expect you to do something as my spouse to, hey, this is the standard I would like to set for our relationship and what I would like to continue to grow for and the potential that I can see us having in the future. And I think that's what we need to start doing as both guys and girls. I don't know if that makes sense. Does that make
it
sense?
does, yeah. It's just a matter. The challenge in the relationship is so holding each other. Like, how does she hold you, but also how do you hold her to that standard and continuing to do that?
So I think when you guys communicate initially on like a first date, like, hey, this is what I believe in. This is what I would like to see. This is what I believe my partner should like do, yada yada. I think like that's the standard of, or you just start with the standard of how I want to live my life and like the standard of living, basically. I don't know. It's because the standards change. Standards change based on your current situation with a kid, where you're living, where you're working. Standards
I
change.
think the way I navigate that personally is if I, again, bringing it back to leadership, is if I want a standard met at a certain level from my partner,
Mission essential task. That's what MET means, by the way.
I don't even know what that is. I'm too much of a reservist to know that activity bullshit.
You said MET,
But-
so you don't know what it means?
No, I mean, I met the standard.
Oh, never mind.
That's metals,
jump.
Mitch. Metals. Come on.
Yeah. And what I'm saying is like, before I can hold my partner to a standard, I first have to hold it myself.
Sure.
For example.
Yeah.
Like staying in shape and looking good. I don't think a guy can be like, my girl's got to be skinny. She's got to fit in a size blah dress or whatever. If you look like a slob, dude. Like, if I want my partner to be healthy and fit, like, I first need to do that thing for her. If I want something, I also need it. You got to lead from the front. You can't expect something that you're not willing to do yourself from your partner too.
Yes. So I kind of want to expand on the leadership perspective with, we talk about toxic leadership, right? I I don't necessarily, do you guys, what would you guys say is toxic?
Do as I say, not as I do.
Okay. Do you think that that is the overall definition of what toxic means?
That's an example.
What about you, Raphael?
Yeah, I would say that's not leading by example, being disrespectful, being more of a boss than being a leader. Those are just things that come to mind.
I think the top two that
Right.
come to mind are inability to take accountability and using others' work or effort for your personal gain. Like, just having a parasitic relationship with your subordinates.
Like that. Okay. Hold on a minute, but I'll get into what I think I'm trying to get into. But Carlos, what do you think of what's
So
toxic leadership?
constantly just giving non-constructive criticism, right? So pointing out flaws at all given times or where you're slacking. I mean, that could be perceived as just a toxic leader, right? Always focusing on a negative instead of just like, hey, how do I grab the negative and turn this around and make it so that, we can turn it into a positive and, set a goal and have somebody work towards it.
Wow. David, what do you think?
For lack of a better term, it's just not being the shit, but you're not sharing the same hardship with your subordinates. Um, is going back to Raphael's description of like just boss. It's easier to be on top of the pyramid and just telling people what to do and be like, I don't understand why they did not like me. You know, I did good. I mean, one of the worst things that you can ever hear from, I remember that there was a previous commander after there was a switchover, that person was going around asking soldiers behind my back, going, hey, was I a good commander? Did I do a good job? And I had to pull that person aside and go, if you have to ask your soldiers that, you're probably neither, dude. Like, you need to, that you if you're always constantly seeking validation for your efforts, and I think that's really kind of goes to some of the red pill folks saying that if I'm a man, therefore I need to get a woman, or a woman need to come up to me. But if that's all you're offering, you'd have to try a little harder, dude. You'd have to try a little bit harder.
Kevin, what do you think is toxic leadership?
Were we talking about relationships or
No,
like
in
workplace? I feel like
in
it's
general.
to
I
be
think-
very different because in like workplace or militaries, you don't have the option to choose.
No, toxic
Oftentimes,
leaders in
You get a
general.
bad leader, and then you can't do anything about it. But I feel like in relationships, you can pick who who you want to be your partner. That's why we go on dates, right? Like we find out if they're compatible, if they're a good person, they're a good leader.
No, that's not what I mean exactly. But like just toxic leadership in general, what you think that definition is. Like
Toxic
what is
leadership.
to be toxic? Yes.
It's just like um it's almost like being a like what's the word? Like a king or emperor where you just tell people what to do. Um, it's all me, me, me. I guess selfishness, it will be the central uh characteristic of a toxic leader.
So this kind of gets to my point where I think I don't have a good definition for what toxic leadership is. Every single command I've been to, every single kind of job that everyone's like, oh, I don't want to be a toxic leader, or this person is toxic. And then based on your guys' definition of what toxic is, it all seems to be a little different. I think that creates an opportunity for a specific group of individuals to say, well, my definition of toxic is not your definition of toxic. And therefore, I don't believe what you're saying. Like you're wrong because that's not what toxic is. I'm not doing that. So therefore, I'm not toxic. I think we need to do a better job of clearly defining what type of leadership a person is doing. So someone's being a parasitic leader. Someone's being an abusive leader. Someone is being a authoritarian leader, an autocratic leader. I think we need to do a better job at actually defining what they're doing as a bad leader in order for us to nip the red pill in the butt. Because otherwise, like we're not going to solve the problem specifically of what they're doing. We're not calling them out if we're keeping it a broad term of toxic.
But
Does that make
I
sense?
think
but you're gonna have to keep
society
it
will
broad.
just
You would have to make it.
it'll just sort itself out because those guys will not get picked by girls, and
That's
then
not true
they'll
though.
just die out.
But that's not the problem. That's not. Hold on, David. What were you saying?
I was gonna say the problem is that you have to keep it broad. The only way you could really nip it in the bud is regardless. I mean, it's toxic leadership in its essence is like a hydra, right? That you chop one head off, there's gonna be two more different variants that's gonna take its place. You just have to call it out as it is. Just tell that person, like, hey, that's just straight up toxic, dude, right? And hold that person accountable, right? They have to have
No, but that's
some kind
why.
of consequence.
No, but that's why I think we need to do a better job at clearly defining what they're doing. That is what we would normally consider toxic, but be like, no, you are abusive. That's an abusive leadership action because that's calling them out specifically on that action, like the defining role of their action. Because it's not, and what kept to Kevin's point, they'll get weeded out by women. That's women doing the job that we should be doing ourselves as men, calling out the bad behavior.
That's fair.
And I think that is we need to do a better job at understanding the different leadership styles so that, hey, I want to be a positive leader. I want to be a developmental leader. I want to be a servant leader. I want to be like, we have to also do the same thing for what good leadership is and just keep it wholesome. Like wholesome is a very broad term, I think. And I think
in a perfect world that works, but I do think we still need the input from women to sift out like the.
Also,
end-
Here we go.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say that, like, I don't think people will never, you can never make somebody change. So a toxic person will always be toxic. I think people can only
Yeah.
change if they want to change. Like, you
Yeah.
can't call somebody out, you're toxic. And you're like, okay, I'm
Right.
toxic. I'm not going to be toxic anymore.
No.
They have
that's
to
my
want it to
point.
change themselves.
But is all
That's my
that so you
point.
put that
Easier.
pressure? You put that pressure though.
The pressure is a consequence of not getting picked by a girl. Instead
Then-
of 6 guys talking about it on a podcast.
If
That's
that were the
a real
case,
consequence.
if that were the case, there would be no red pill community.
Well, to be fair, it will eat itself.
Is that
Because
what's happening?
Well, I believe it eventually it will. And I think it's because you have these lost men who are gravitating to the red pill community, who are being told that what they need to do is be authoritarian and take charge and grab the feminism by the balls or whatever and take control. They're being told that they have to have this very incredibly narrow view of authoritarian dynamic in relationships and leadership and what a man needs to be. They're going to be putting that into practice in the real world. And they're going to start meeting actual women instead of just listening to Andrew Tate's bullshit and realizing that shit doesn't work. And they're either just not going to get chosen or they're going to have oh shit moments and realize they have to change their tactics. So in a way, with time, the cycle's going to come around where it's the toxicities, for the most part, this red pill bullshit is going to sift this way out. Because if it
But then where
If
does
it
where
worked,
does all the incels
then
coming
if
from?
it worked, then it would be proliferating.
But if it didn't, but I mean, you still have like a
Bro.
whole group of people who actually.
Wouldn't you say it is proliferating, though? Because it seems like it's getting more and more prevalent.
What's proliferating is the angry rhetoric that's grabbing guys that have no direction. What's happening is the incels are getting angry, or the guys that can't get girls are getting angry. But you can't say that authoritarian, that I don't think toxic leadership in the relationship dynamic is proliferating, because if it was working, the incels would be getting laid. They're not.
Right.
That's,
but they also don't
you see what I'm
have-
saying?
Right. But so I think Kevin's point, I think people can change. However,
Yeah, they can
You
change.
gotta
but
want it.
we can't make them change. That's what I'm
Right.
saying. You can
But
never
we're-
make somebody change.
what Raphael is, and we are doing in the clips that we're showing. So I think there's been a gap of, okay, these guys want to attract women. All right. They want to be a positive leader. Okay. They haven't had those positive role models, those positive leaders in seeing that, or they haven't been able to see things that women are like, oh, this person, this guy's a good man. This guy's doing good work, blah, blah, blah. So like they can emulate that type of stuff. And I think Raphael, what some of our stuff, like based on a majority of our comments from the girls commenting, have been very positive. You don't think that guys are going to see that and be like, wait a second, that the girls are liking this type of content. So therefore, should I change? Do you think that am I in Delulu land?
People
by
have
seeing-
changed. There's like the insult from one side and there's the simp on the other, right? So you have to take everything with a grain of salt. Just because girls say I like it, you can't like cater your entire, cater every single one of their whims. Like you still have to be a man, somebody that they respect.
I think guys are still in the phase of stumbling on their dicks to find out that what they're doing isn't working. Like, it's not that they're not finding good role models, is that they're still realizing that the bad one's not quite bad yet. We're still in the figuring out phase.
Raphael, have you found I think you get a lot of comments from guys.
I do.
Has there been any of these guys that have been like, hold on, wait a second, I might be wrong, or have any of them changed their minds, or have any come to the realization of what you're doing might be the right thing, or are you still not?
Yeah, they definitely are numbered by the other guys, but I do get the occasional comment. But what I get more are DMs. I get DMs from guys who just want to ask me, hey man, like, I used to believe this stuff. Maybe it's not working. What do you think is the best way forward? And I think to your point, I think we're calling out that it's not working. But I think now, it's something I'm developing, or I'm trying to, is now I got to tell them what does work, and to fill that gap, because that was the one thing that also came out of the debate with Andrew. Was he was like, well, what do you recommend as the alternative? And I was like, fuck, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have the prescription. I'm not somebody that prescribes how to live a life. It's not something I do. But I'm calling out, hey, if you want to date women, you got to pick something else, because it's not this. But I do think there is a way. I think I can prescribe the general rules of what makes somebody attractive and the general rules of how to keep a relationship happy, because I've dated my whole life and I'm happily married. Those are things that I've done. They're things that I think I can tell other people, maybe this could work for you. But someone has to tell them, because right now, to Ed's point, the thing I'm seeing is that some of these guys are doubling down on red pill. So there's the guys that are on the fence. Then there's the guys that have just completely black pilled and gone their own way. MGTOW is a growing movement. And those are guys that are just opting out completely of dating. They just said, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to spend the time on it. Those guys might not ever come back. There might not be a way back unless their biological urges are strong enough to make them say, I really would love a woman. But I do think there are people that are on the fence. I also think younger kids I've gotten so many messages from parents that are like, I'm sending all your videos to my kids because I don't ever want them to go down the red pill rabbit hole. So hopefully it's a temporary thing for a lot of men. Like, this one generation of kids who grew up on iPads and COVID, and they got sucked into it because they weren't dating and they didn't have the social skills to go up to a woman and ask her out. But there are people who are entrenched and they're doubling down. They're basically like, the most comment I get is they're all liars. Even the women who are responding to them and saying, this is exactly how I describe my husband. They're like, well, you're a liar. And there's another reason you liked him. It was never about his kindness and humor. It was his paycheck. And they just refuse to let go of the preconceptions they have about women. And they got all that from the red pill. And I can tell them it's bad and they know it's not working for them. But to Kevin's point, like, if somebody needs to lose weight, you can't tell them, you could tell them how to do it. That doesn't mean they're going to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the key to the whole thing is, from the guy's perspective, is you as an individual just need to bring value to the world. You need to make yourself better tomorrow. I think another reason why so many young men are getting sucked in by the red pill is because, like, just the world we live in today, the way the economy works, the way just life works in 2025, where men traditionally could show their value to society by showing how they have their shit together, per se, by having a job, owning a house, having a stable life. I feel like a lot of young men today saw those life milestones that their parents had, and they feel like that's not attainable in today's world. And when you grow up seeing your parents having these things, and you value your parents and you try to emulate that, and you realize that you can't quite achieve that because jobs today fucking suck. Houses are too everything's ridiculously expensive. You can't, you want to be the one guy provider? Dude, nobody can afford that shit. Both people have to work. So all these traditional ways in which we showed value throughout the last century just aren't there anymore. And I think a lot of guys pinned so much of what they bring to the world into those things, and that's how they got lost. And then the red pill just grabbed onto that anger and frustration and sucked them into that rabbit hole, when really, be confident. Like, I hate it, the same way the red pill tells you have to be a top 20% man. That's bullshit. And then people on the left will tell you, like, oh, well, just be yourself. Like, no, it's not about being yourself. It's be better. It's okay to be you. All 6 of us are completely different human beings, but we also strive to be better. And that's what our partners all saw in us. Like, just be a better version of you, and tomorrow do that, and try to find value and bring value to the table in other ways.
Yeah. I think that's a great, one of the possible solutions. If people are asking you, Raphael, like, hey, what are possible solutions to get out or to be better? I think it is finding a goal, finding a long-term goal that is probably out in Delulu land that you might not ever get to. And that's okay. Me being an astronaut, I probably won't ever make it.
Believe in
How, but it's having a goal, that will enable you to push yourself farther than you would ever be able to before, and be okay if it is something that is in the creative side. If you want to write a book, if you want to paint the Mona Lisa, if you want to travel the world, find a goal that is something that you are not embarrassed about, something that you enjoy doing. Because I think a lot of those people on that side, they don't have a goal. They're angry. They don't envision a world that is better. They just envision the here and now and that I am angry and sad and mad. And I'm like, okay, well, the solution to that is
What are you gonna do about
fine.
it? Do something about it.
Do
No,
some,
do something. And to add to Mitch's point, like you might set yourself a goal and find along the way that you learn that you like something else way better.
yeah, and
Like
be okay with change.
when I grew up wanting to be a fighter pilot. I
Me
wanted to
too.
fly cool fucking jets. It never happened. Now I have the absolute best career I absolutely could have, and I landed in a much better place. And I did all sorts of different things before I got to where I am now. And looking back, looking at what I initially embarked on versus what I achieved, and I'm like, I'll take this any fucking day. Like this is a so much cooler story. Like I am me because of all the little branches in my journey where shit, this didn't happen. Well, you know what? Fuck that. I'm going to find a different thing to do. Like
One
I mean,
thing I
that
you
was
also
think
got to be resilient.
So like our current society though, so I feel like a lot of guys get lost in the daily grind though. So, as you get older and you become a provider and you have more responsibilities, next thing you know, you're pulling 12 to 15-hour work shifts, working 6 days a week. So then along that way, you kind of lose that sense of purpose or sense of having a goal, right? So then I feel like you just kind of get lost in the daily grind and then you just don't have the energy to kind of get back on that train.
That's true.
So how do you, and I mean, and this is kind of, I'm speculating as well, right? As to what's causing that, because I mean, I'm like in the same shoes as you. Like I have a dream job. Couldn't be happier, but I feel like that's from
Not
what I've
everyone.
seen in other people. Yeah. It seems like that's what's really causing people to lose all these goals, because then people then use that as a crutch. It's like, okay, well, how do I, let's say I, wanted to be a lawyer, but then, life happened, dropped out of school, whatnot. But how do they get back to that if they're having to work their asses off just to be able to survive?
How do you tell the guy working 6 days a week, 12-hour shifts at McDonald's, still living at home because he can't afford to leave
Right.
the house?
So you
Even if
kind
he
of like,
wants to.
you're so deep in this hole that you get to a point where you really can't pull out of the hole.
One thing
Yeah.
I've been telling,
So-
from I'm a family man perspective, and trying to find the time. Like I don't necessarily have the answers to that, other than if you basically dedicate all your free time to your passions is kind of the only thing I could think of. But what I've been telling a lot of these young men when they ask me, like what should I focus on, what should I do? I start with their physical and mental health. I'm like, if you need to go to the physical gym and you need to go to the mental gym, those are the two places you need to be. And if you focus on that, you're going to start to build on your confidence. That's going to be like a very base level confidence. Then you need to do things that impress yourself. You need to do things that, get over your own fears. Go tackle a fear and come out the other side and tell me you don't feel more confident. And you do these things over and over again. You build a practice of like, I'm not trying to do this for anybody else. I'm trying to do this so I can impress myself. Then if you do that, you start to build an internal confidence and fortitude that basically makes you feel like no matter what I face, I can face it. And I think that energy comes across when you're trying to date, because then when you approach a girl, you don't have the fear, because you've already conquered fears. You've already conquered things that you're afraid of. And you're like, this isn't so bad. I can go up and ask and say, okay, I can take it on the chin. And I've also worked on my mental health. I've gone to therapy. I've read the books. So when I get rejected, I don't take it so hard because I have developed the internal fortitude. And I think it's almost red pill what I'm recommending in some ways, where it's like, if you focus on yourself in those very specific ways, then whenever you stop hating women, you'll be able to find a date, because you have built up the internal confidence, you've built up your own personality, and you feel good about yourself, and women read that and like that.
It's really just diverting all the anxiety that they have. It's a matter of harnessing that aggression, controlling that anger towards something positive, instead of just trying to just victim blame or just and refuse to take. 'Cause to me, it's the same kind of concept when people say like, I'm offended. It's like, okay, it sounds like just a complaint. There's no accountability. So there's a so what to that. So it's like, well, so what are you gonna do about it? You see all these red pills here saying, oh, women say no, I hate women, is all their fucking fault. It's like, but what are you doing about it? You're gonna stick your thumb up your ass, listen to a corner, and listen to Third Eye Blind. Like, come on, dude. They can't.
And that's the thing. Like I always give shit about. I hate how some of the extreme rhetoric puts all the blame on men. In the same way, I tell men, like, you can't put all the blame on women, dude. That's not how this shit works. Like, I hate the fact that men are typically in society the only ones always told to take accountability and take responsibility and fix your shit. Dude, it's like we learned this in the military. The only person that gives a shit about your career is yourself. So the only person that gives a shit about your life and your well-being is yourself. You're the one that's just still has to take the reins. You can ask for help. You can talk to others. But at the end of the day, it's on you.
And a lot of times when soldiers come to me and they complain all the time about something. And I'm like, all right, what's the solution? What's your solution to this problem? And they're like, I haven't thought about that. Well, until you come to me with a potential better solution to this is the decision that I'm making. I think the same mentality goes into relationships and dating, where it's like, these red pill guys complaining and complaining and complaining. Okay, what's the solution, man? What are you gonna do to help provide a better solution, that leader that's providing the specific constraints that are given to this person, to the red pill? What are you gonna do to change their mind that this solution is a better way?
And take it a step back, because before you identify the problem, you first have to ask yourself, like, what can I control? Because if it's out of your control, why the fuck are you mad about it? Like,
It's a complete waste of time.
we need to learn. We need to learn to identify those things. It's like, okay, can I do something about this? No? Then who gives a fuck? Let it go.
What's
It is
funny
what it
is
is.
that, like, a lot of these red pill guys claim they're very stoic in their emotions, but it's like, if they actually read stoic philosophy, that's like one of the main core tenets of stoic philosophy is do not fret over things you can't control. Like, it is
100%. And that's the biggest thing that drives me nuts about the broic community. Is the red pill tells you to shut that shit down, suck it up, and push on. But real stoicism, in order for you to understand what you can do about something, you have to first identify what it is. What can you control? Why did it make you feel this way?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing when you're asking yourself why something made you feel that way? You're examining your emotions. You're doing the exact opposite of shoving that shit down and just pushing on. Like, I'm mad. Why am I mad at this? Well, this happened. Can I do something about it? No. Stop being fucking mad. Seriously, like, no, it's really that easy.
I mean, I think the best way to describe what you're going at, Ed, too, is what I sometimes kind of carry through as a life of philosophy, which is pretty much just fuck it, instead of, because I feel like that actually motivates me more than you can do this, because saying fuck it, because fuck it includes the total acceptance of failure as the outcome. Meanwhile, you can do this focuses only on the hopes of a successful outcome and a lack of acknowledgement of the equally probable failure outcome, which then induces a certain level of unspoken anxiety. So it's like, okay, I have the resolute acceptance of death. All right, so fuck it, let's just go. Fuck it, we ball.
I'm sure Carlos can relate to this. Like, we fly with guys at work who lose their shit over the dumbest things. Like, oh my God, we're going to be late. Why? Well, the passengers aren't boarding yet. When they're done boarding, we'll push back and take off, dude. We'll leave when we leave. Oh, we're going to be late because we got to go around this thunderstorm. Yeah, motherfucker. I'm not flying through that thing. We'll go around it. And then we get there late. And it'll be what it fucking will be. Like
you're mad at the weather, bro? Like, come on. It's the
angry man yells at clouds.
I think that same philosophy can apply towards relationships too. It's like, can you control the things that your wife or significant other does all the time? No. All right, that's fine. Like, just don't be mad at her. Don't resent her for it. Like, don't resent him either for something that might be out of your control. And if there are things that you think you can control, okay, this can get a little dicey. Let me see if I can find this conclusion to this. But if you could, things that you think that are in your control in a healthy way, discuss it with your significant other. Don't come down on an iron fist and demand control, because in a relationship, you're not always in control. You have to acknowledge that. All right. Relationship, it's an art.
As an individual, you're allowed to have agency and boundaries.
Yes.
And if you don't like something that's happening, voice it.
Exactly.
That's your control.
Yes.
It's not control by telling her, hey, lady, come over here. You're going to do what I fucking tell you. It's, I didn't like this. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. Communication is super critical. And then it's also about how you have that communication. Because if you're coming in guns hot, angry, it's just going to start a fight versus something that, I don't know if I mentioned this before. My wife was very adamant that before we got married, we start premarital counseling as like something we do on a regular, something we just like keep as a habit. And I was like, no, this is stupid. We're fine. We're good. She was like, let's just do it. I saw this thing. I think it's really worth trying. And I said, okay, fine. We still go to couples counseling, but one of the things, and it's changed our marriage. I mean, we did it when things were good. We've only gone in there when we've had some bad things, but we've had like an ability to communicate through our problems with tools that I would have never had before. One of the ones that I can't recommend enough is called a stress reducing conversation. So once a week for 30 minutes, you both sit down and you have 15 minutes each, if you need it, to talk about what you have going on. Like, what is it that's bothering you? Are there things that are upsetting you? And the other person's job is just to listen, just to absolutely take it in and then repeat back what they said, like in an understanding manner. And then you switch and you do the exact same thing. That has made things don't build. You don't have a resentment that happens. You don't have any kind of, because all this stuff has a place to be discussed in a calm, understanding manner where you both come in with that intention. I don't expect all couples to adopt that, but it's a game changer, because you're no longer saying this thing has been bothering me for so long and then it turns into a fight. Instead, it's like, I've been really stressed out about the way this has been going and this is how it makes me feel. And then they just understand, and then you come to an understanding. But yeah, it's not control. It's more like communication.
Yeah. That's very, I love that, because that's kind of like the thing that I want to try, I think in July sometime. And Raphael, you're welcome to come back on this one. But it was girls that were interested in coming on to the podcast doing that exact same thing that you were talking about, where they were interested in hearing what we have to say about a specific topic. Then we wait, then they say something about that specific topic, and we come in the middle, come to agreement, and communicate. And I think that is a solution to the problems that we might be having for whatever issue might be coming up, is that communication piece. And that, so I think Raphael, you brought up like you're not sure about all the solutions, but I think like in the past 30 minutes or so, we've talked about a lot of solutions to potential problems. Are they 100% cut and dry? No, but I think that is something that I think we can take forward when we talk to other guys that are in the rebel community asking for help, possible solutions moving forward. So on that note, though, I think, is there any final closing comments before we finish up this episode?
Yeah, I think to address what Raphael was saying too, how he mentioned that, he commented, oh no, this is stupid, we don't need this, but went along with it. So I think there's an important lesson there too, where you are not always going to know what's best and can't be closed-minded to something just because you're not comfortable with it or because it's new to you, right? So you actually, went into it open-minded, even though you might have been against it initially, and it worked out perfect, right? So that's a good lesson in leadership, I think. It's like, hey, you don't have the answers to everything. be a little open-minded, try something new. And if it fails, then at least you can say you tried it. So
And I think to your point, another thing about leadership is also saying, hey, you were right. Like you were right. Like that worked. And having no kind of like shame in admitting that someone else was correct or had a better idea. I think you get more respect even doing that than
There's
just
nothing disarms a hater more than admitting you're right. Nothing pisses my girlfriend off more than me telling her, you're right, okay, and walking away. Yeah, I guess you're right, man.
I'm gonna play PlayStation.
Pretty passive aggressive there.
Girl's going to be like, what did you say?
What?
How did you say it? How you said it, not what you said. Gosh, we're doing
I
so
guess
well.
my closing remark on the leadership perspective is the red pill's selling you this idea that you have to be tough, that you have to be an authoritarian. No, you don't. Be decisive. You can be kind, good person, treat others kindly, bring others up. That's a good leader. That's how you take control. You don't have to be a dick to people. And a good woman is never going to be turned off by a kind servant leader. Keep pushing on. Have agency, have boundaries, and keep your dick out of crazy.
Yeah, and your own standards. If you want someone who you can open up to and be kind to and they don't get turned off by it, then go for that. Like, don't just settle for a woman who treats you like shit because you opened up to her. Like, that's terrible.
Yeah, absolutely. Closing remarks I would like to do is don't be afraid to do something different. And if you are afraid, baby steps. It's okay. Just chip away at that fear. There's always going to be something that you're afraid of, and you have to acknowledge the fact that the world evolves and changes, and that you're going to be doing things that are different than what you've done before. And you have to be okay with it. And that's how we grow. That's how we become better people. That is how we develop as a society. And I think an additional thing is be okay, be open to what women say and believe them. And I don't assume that they are lying. Because if you do that, you're going to assume everyone is out to get you. You're going to assume they're out to get you, and you won't be able to open yourself to trying new things if you're constantly afraid and not believing, if that makes sense. So hopefully that makes sense, but that's going to be my closing comment. So on Dave, did you have anything before we close it up?
Yeah, Mitch will probably delete and edit me out on this one, but to anyone who,
there we go. Oh yeah.
I mean, to
Go
anyone,
to Patreon.
well, to anyone who, kind of views women as like property and think that, oh, you're entitled to just lead, to like lead all this stuff on and everything with women. I would just say, if you think about it, if you're misogynistic, and that's kind of gay, and why are you treating men better than women? Like, I mean, come on, man. Come on, man. Is that mental gymnastics, man? Come on. Not that I am a rainbow.
You know what? We're going to run with that. All right. I don't. We're going to get.
We will get canceled. I am that pole that's supporting that flag.
Like and subscribe.
All right. Hey, if you guys made it this far, appreciate you. Appreciate everyone listening in and all the comments that are not only on mine. I don't know, Raphael, I don't know if you appreciate your comments on your clips and whatnot, but I appreciate mine, even if they're all hateful ones. It makes us better. So if there is anything that you guys would like for us to talk about, let us know, and we will see y'all next time.